I'm Nurse Jessica Seitz.
And I'm Nurse Erica.
And we're Nurses Uncorked,
the podcast that takes nursing facts
with nursing comedy and makes a cocktail out of them.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to podcasts. And please rate, review, and download.
Also, if you're interested in supporting Nurses Uncorked podcast and getting early access to episodes, behind-the-scenes content, and bloopers,
check out the Patron link in the description of the podcast.
Hello, everybody. It's Nurses Uncorked coming to you back again. Myself, Nurse Jessica Seitz, and the lovely Nurse Erica on New Year's Eve. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Yes. We thought, what better way to celebrate the upcoming New Year than to recap all that we've accomplished and all that we've gone through in this past year. The highs, the lows. The giggles,
the laughter, the screaming,
the accomplishments, yeah, all of it. So this is going to be a fun episode because I love going down memory lane quite a bit.
In review.
Yes, but first I want to give a thank you to our newest patron, and I apologize. This patron, I do not have your real name, but you will know who you are. The new patron is CTKH Mommy. I won't give your whole email address, but listen.
Welcome, CTAH Mommy, whatever it was.
Yes, you said it wrong, but that's okay.
Okay.
Welcome to the patron community. We appreciate your support, and you and all of our other patrons, anybody that's missing out on sending us your real name and address, please do so. And if anybody's wondering what becoming a patron is all about, there is a link in the description of the podcast and you can see all the fun we have. We're going to talk about some of that too on this podcast, about some of the virtual Zoom parties we've done that were that was a first for this year too, you know.
We started doing that this year, yeah.
Yeah.
We got to plan the first one for the new year.
Yeah, so I think let's start it out by taking it way back to the beginning of the year.
You're always trying to skip the cocktail.
Oh, God. I got so excited because I was so prepared for this episode. Damn. Let's do we need a song for that. Cocktail of the week.
Yeah. Who's going to do that one for us? Because Redonda did our, what is it?
Problem of the week.
And then Masshole did our Enema. No.
Did
you do the Enema? Enema of the week.
Enema of the week.
Who's going to do our
who wants to volunteer?
Yeah. You don't have to sing well.
No, okay. Clearly not.
Cocktail of the week. Continuing on my series. It's not a series, it's just two. From last week of the mulled wine, otherwise known as glue wine, which is the hot wine that they serve at the Christmas markets in Europe. And I said that I would show a different way of making it from last week. So I have one of my beautiful little glue wine mugs that I brought home. So
how many mugs did you bring home?
Like 7, I think. And they're so cute.
They are cute.
Okay. So last week I had that tea bag that they make specifically with the spices and you pour the boiling wine over it. There is another thing you can buy called Glog. It's GLOGG.
Okay.
And I think it's from Sweden. This is more like Nordic, Norway, Sweden, Finland area. This is how they make their mulled wine or glue wine. And so this is like the spices, essentially. So you boil your wine, typically a red wine, and then you're going to mix it half and half with the Glog. Or you could do a non-alcoholic of this and warm it up and mix it with water, half and half. So I already boiled my wine and poured it half and half over the Glog. And it really does taste so good.
At a kid's temperature?
Shut up. Whore.
If you guys don't know, Erica likes her Starbucks. She tells them at a kid's temperature.
I do.
Not too warm. Yeah. Erica does not like it.
You know what's bad is before I knew that you could order things at a kid's temp, for years I would say at 130 degrees because I had somehow pinpointed that was the ideal temp. So for
Oh my
years, I'd go to
God.
Starbucks and go, yeah, white chocolate mocha, blah, 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 at
They must have
130
rolled their
degrees.
eyes. They probably were like, okay, mm-hmm.
Yeah. And after years, finally someone said, you mean like at a kid's temp? And I'm like, okay. And now they don't
Yeah.
question it anymore.
Now it's a lot
But
easier because you're not saying I need it at exactly 130 degrees.
correct. Yeah. But in any case, another example of how you can make mulled wine at home, which is so good in the winter when it's cold. And you could also make your own spices with like cloves and cinnamon and orange peels.
Can you put
like
a link or
raisins in it.
something to where people could order this? Because
Yeah, I did in last week's for the tea bag. Yeah, I'll put something in there.
Because I feel so untraveled after watching you the last 2 weeks with this stuff. I'm like, never
It's
knew
so
people
good.
drank wine hot. I did not know that. I'm like, okay, this is, I feel like
'Cause
I'm
it's so
learning
cold
here.
out
I
there.
might need to broaden my horizons a bit.
Yeah.
Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Erica.
What are you drinking? Oh, you've got wine.
Think? What do
Okay.
you think? I got my Chardonnay.
Well, it's either
here.
wine or Diet Coke, so I didn't
got
know.
my God, please don't out me like that. I have coffee. I have coffee sometimes too.
That's true.
My poor body's going to go into shock one of these days. So I wanted to first congratulate one of the things that we accomplished this year in 2024 was reaching a year of podcasting, which was a big accomplishment for us. And we hit that landmark like midway through the year, like mid-June or July, I think. So we had already done a recap episode on episode 54 of all the other prior episodes to that. So I'm not going to dive into all of those because if you do want to hear more detailed about some of the earlier ones we had this year, there were some amusing ones. So I'll just recap quickly. We dived into the debacle of the National Nurses March.
Oh, good God.
To start out 2024. That was in January. We had a two-part episode with Nina. Yeah, that's another influencer, Nurse Nina. And we recapped all that trauma.
Yeah.
that we went through.
We set the record straight and had some healing and got it on the record because some people like to try to rewrite history. But we were there, so we know.
Yeah. And as time goes on, you lose your memory. So I'm like, if we don't recap this now, I'm never going to remember what happened. So those were some interesting episodes. We had our friend Leah on. We did with forensic nurse Leah on episode 29. We had Masshole Maguido back on for signs and symptoms of nursing burnout. I think that was his second time on. We had Matt Garvey, legal nurse consultant, on. One episode that I was very proud of was Michelle Hewins that we had on, which was a nurse that was criminally charged, a correctional nurse, right, Erica?
Yeah, what did you call her? Tiffany?
Nurse Nicole.
Nicole.
That was one of my very most embarrassing moments, I think, with a guest that I would say, most of the time it's like people that I know but when I have on somebody that I don't know and that they've been through a traumatic experience, right, Erica, don't you find you're more nervous and you're like,
oh yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I was nervous and I don't know why I called her, right, Nurse Nicole?
For no reason. Like we hadn't been talking about it, Nicole. I don't know. That was
Erica
funny.
goes, excuse me, who's Nurse Nicole? And I was like, what did I say? And then she's like, yeah, you did. You called me Nicole. So luckily I cut that out, but that was awful.
That was funny. But she's so laid back. She was cool. Yeah.
She was very cool about it. She was.
Yeah.
She just laughed. She wasn't even going to say anything. It was Erica that had to.
I'll just go with it.
That had to out me. We talked about the decapitated infant update. That was we had an update to that story. We had another friend on, Lindsay, with Lindsay Leisures, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Very proud of our dialysis episodes with Tom
those
Mueller.
Were so informative. If you haven't listened to the 2-part episode about the dialysis industry, everyone needs to listen to that. Yeah.
That was very eye-opening, like hugely eye-opening, and learned so much. Jen Hamilton was nice enough, huge creator, to come on and talk about her life and a lot of cancel culture she's got through and had to deal with. We had the chief nursing officer of the ANA for a 2-part episode.
We did. Yeah.
Whew.
We've done so much.
Yeah, and this is just the first half of the year. Now, be patient here, people, because we're going to detail more about the second half. I'm just giving you little bits of what we've done so far. One of my funniest episodes I loved, Worst Nurses Week Gifts, was episode 49.
That was great. Yeah.
We have to do that every year.
That should be an annual thing. Yeah.
Yes, because I love sharing the shit that people got as Nurses Week gifts. That was great.
So I just a couple days ago asked people to send me what, if any, holiday gifts they got from their employer. And I know like 99% of nurses got nothing, but
that's a great one. We should do that. Yeah, I'm going to put a post up about that. That's a great idea.
I've been posting them to my Instagram story. So one of the notable ones was a virtual recipe book that you had to contribute the recipes to. Like it didn't come with recipes. No, it was just you could log in and then everyone had to upload their own recipes to the virtual like cookbook.
Oh God. Okay.
Isn't that generous?
So basically they gave you a landing site?
Correct. For what you could have just Googled. Yeah.
Wow. That's nice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Ew.
And then the last one prior to our year anniversary was the Kentucky Nurses Association came on, which was another great episode. Yes.
Yep. Talking about becoming the first state to decriminalize criminal prosecution of nurses. That was great.
Yeah. So much that they've accomplished.
Yeah.
So that catches us up to the second half of 2024, where we started out we had the Safe Haven baby boxes, the creator of Safe Haven baby boxes on, which is, if you don't know, is an amazing organization where, if you don't know what a baby box is, basically it's where people can anonymously place their infant somewhere for somebody that's in a position that they know they just can't handle having a baby, and it gives an alternative to something horrible happening to an infant. They can put it in these boxes that are like at fire stations and different places around the United States. Monica, that's her name.
Yeah.
All that she's accomplished is absolutely.
We got some criticism for that episode from people that were trying to say that we were saying like pro-choice, or that it was an abortion issue, like all these things,
or that you should get rid of your child. Yeah, I know there's always going to be somebody that has
hate for that, but that was an important episode, and she was awesome, and she's providing a service, in my opinion.
And we came full circle on that episode. One of the firefighters ended up adopting one of the babies that was that was so freaking cool. That was left, and him and his wife were struggling with infertility, and they ended up adopting one of the babies.
And I almost forgot about this. We found out that there's like a whole history of this going back centuries in other countries where they didn't necessarily call it a baby box, but different churches had different things where you could leave an unwanted infant for someone to care for. Remember? I had no idea.
Yeah, evidently.
That was interesting.
There's one gentleman in another country. I think he's a religious individual. I forget what country it is, but he gets one daily. There's like a baby dropped off every day.
Crazy.
Yeah. So that was a really, really interesting episode. It took us a while to get her on, but we were glad that we were able to. And then I think that kind of segued me into telling my surrogacy story on the follow-up episode after that, because I have 4 children and my second 2 were via surrogacy. So I go into details about the whole journey. Yeah, I was very It was emotional. It was an emotional episode, but a good
Yeah.
episode. And I got to talk all about the struggles that me and my husband went through to get to
And
where
I
we are
didn't know the
today.
whole story. I learned from listening to that too. It was a lot. But
There's a
yours, I
lot.
feel like, obviously in retrospect, but it turned out perfectly. Like it couldn't, I know it was horribly stressful in the beginning, but I feel like you had really like best case scenario because you were able to have the same surrogate for
Yeah.
both of your kids, and it just kind of came together, and you did it a little bit non-traditionally, right? Like you didn't go through an
Yeah.
agency that wanted to charge $1 million. And
If you're looking for tips and tricks on how to
yeah,
bypass some of that, maybe we should have named the episode that. But
yeah.
like different. We were very fortunate. I just burped again on the podcast. Why do I do that every week? I think it's all the Diet Coke.
See?
But yeah, we were able to financially cut some cost in a creative way, so that we talk about all of that.
Yeah.
And then we got into the first episode, and I'm so proud of this idea, and I love it, of our Huddle news updates.
Whose idea was it? Was that your idea?
Yes, it was. Well, we
Okay.
called it whiteboard at first.
We did. And then we decided Huddle would be better.
So if you want to find the very first Huddle news update, because people like it, that was episode 57, and it's actually called whiteboard. We were playing around with a name, and then I think after that episode came out, Erica's like, "Wait a minute, what about like Huddle news?" Because everybody's got a huddle, morning huddle, and I was like, "Yeah," and we liked that a lot better.
But instead of like the bullshit that you get in Huddle, like, so the water's going to be shut off from 10 to 1500, deal with it. That kind of bullshit that you get in Huddle. We actually are bringing you current news, events and stories. And I think they're informative and pretty entertaining.
Yeah. And we found a way to incorporate celebrity news in there.
Well, you did.
Because I love celebrity news. I'm gonna plug my new TikTok.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up because I haven't even talked to you about that, but I saw that you created a new TikTok. Because for those that don't know, Jessica has an obsession with like pop culture.
I do.
And Easter eggs, and trying to like get to the bottom of these things, like Taylor Swift things and Britney Spears and P. Diddy.
Here's what happened.
She goes down the rabbit hole.
What had happened was, okay, so I started doing these. Obviously, I've got a big following on my platforms, and of course, that's going to be the easiest way to do these videos and put them out there. But it's completely unrelated to what the masses follow me for, and I knew that I was going to have to stop doing that. So I was like, I have to. When I post
Broadway musical videos,
that's why nobody watches
people
it.
watch.
That's why you have to start your own Broadway musical TikTok. So I have bitten the bullet, and if you do like celebrity culture, following Taylor Swift, Britney Spears, it's called Decoding Celebrities. I only have 224 followers right now on TikTok. Thank you, Erica. But so you will not see any of that anymore on my other pages because you got to keep it separate. And so,
is it only on TikTok?
So
not
far,
Facebook or Instagram?
No, so far. It's a big project to do all that. I can barely keep
link up in the bio for the TikTok.
Yeah. But if you want to see some of that, I like it. It's fun. So we did our Huddle news, and we've had, I think, 4 Huddle news updates so far.
Do you have a favorite Huddle news story of the ones that you can think of?
Diddy. It's got to be P. Diddy,
without even hesitating.
Oh Diddy. Yeah, it's the Diddy and the IV starting and the baby lube and the oils and all these different shenanigans. For sure, because it is just so mind-boggling and strange, and I mean, how could you not be fascinated? Because it's something that like you would have never believed was going on, like. Just some weird, creepy stuff.
I think I have a tie for my favorite.
Okay, tell me who.
It's either the swimming with pigs resulting in an amputation, only because you and I had
I'm
just
sorry.
gone on a cruise and we were supposed to go on the
Yes.
excursion to swim with the pigs.
I'm not laughing at this poor woman that got
No,
infected in any way.
no. But I
But
was so proud of myself when I found that story, and I'm like, I'm gonna do this, and Jessica hasn't heard about it, and it's gonna be so timely for us. So either that or my boyfriend Luigi, which we just did
yeah,
last week.
I could tell you were into that one. You
Mhm.
were into that episode. That's another fascinating story. I think people
Yeah.
are captivated by that one too, because that's another something that you don't hear every day.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be unfolding for quite some time. Probably
Yeah, and I
years.
mean, I have never seen an alleged or possible murderer look so sexy in a
He's a
mugshot.
gorgeous assassin.
Yeah, I mean,
Mm, yeah.
smoking,
Mm-hmm.
smoking. Knows where to look at the camera. Just a very
I know.
talented
Talented.
individual. Yeah, I mean,
Talented.
yeah. Then after that, I was very proud of episode 60, where we had Kelly Johnson on, which is a guest
Mhm.
I had wanted for a long
Yeah, that was one of
time.
my goals. Yeah.
Yeah, she was a Miss America contestant that did a what's it called? Is it a soliloquy? No, that's not the word.
It was her talent on
Yeah,
the Miss America pageant, and she read not a poem, like a
that's the word I'm trying to think of. I keep
don't know.
wanting to say
She
soliloquy.
read something that she wrote about being a nurse, and she
Yeah.
came out in her scrubs and the stethoscope, and
Then she was made fun of on The View by Joy Behar.
freaking Behar.
God
Behar.
dang it! I knew I'd say it wrong. I can never remember. I want to say Behar, Behar. So that was really she's a very smart lady, Kelly.
Well, that was like a huge moment in time for the nursing profession. You know, I think there's only a handful that I feel like really were turning points, and like Redonda, obviously, who we've had on the podcast before. Kelly Johnson, you know, there's just like a few of these that really kind of captivated the entire profession, and the rare moments that the whole profession can get behind and we are not divided on. You know, I think every nurse could go, wait, what do you mean a doctor's stethoscope? Like, that's
You know
so
what?
insulting.
I want to have on, one of my goals for 2025 is to have on more hated individuals. I know that sounds weird.
What?
But I want to have people on that have maybe angered I would say the chief nursing officer may have somewhat followed that possible role, because a lot of people see the ANA as not necessarily friends of the nursing world per se. But what I mean by that is, like, I'd like to have, if we could have the senator on, Maureen
Walsh.
Yes, that did the whole nurses do nothing. I would be interesting to hear her discuss that and talk about that.
Just they know how to, like, the double speak and talk around an issue, kind of like the CNO, you know. And so I don't think that we would ever get a transparent answer.
Probably not, but it is fun to watch Nurse Erica put her digs in at people when she
fun.
has, scab. Remember that?
Yeah.
We'll get into that in a minute, but another episode I would like to do would be to have a diehard scab on the podcast. I think it would be, look, she's already heated. She's already mad about it.
Because they're typically so just indignant in their ignorance.
I think that we could have a discussion.
Consider another point of view. They're so much about, like, don't tell me where I can earn my money, kind of an attitude that they don't even want to hear or be open to a conversation. It's exceedingly frustrating, honestly, to speak to them.
Well, I
it's
think that if
not
we were
open
brave enough, not
communication.
brave enough, but if we are willing to have the discussion and hear their side of it, even though it's not going to change our mind, they if you're a scab out there listening to our podcast and you would like to come on and give your view, we will be kind.
Will we?
Erica, we'll be tame. We'll be
I can't
okay.
promise that.
We'll be I don't know what we'll be. We'll be something, but we promise it'll be a good episode.
I
Let's just
would
say we're
like
not going to be
to
hateful.
hear.
We're not going to be hateful, I guess is what I'm
I
trying.
can't promise
that. Erica,
I can't.
behave yourself.
Come on. Have you met me?
Oh, I have.
I mean, I was professional with the scene. Like, I can certainly be professional, but I don't do well with ignorance, with people that don't have common sense, that you can't reason with. I don't have patience for that. So that would be difficult. But I think it would be also valuable if we had someone on who was like a quote unquote reformed scab, who has been a scab, that is one of the very few that learned more about it and how damaging it was, and now maybe either is a union member or tells people not to do that, something.
Okay. All right. So that's a decent, if you're a reformed scab and you are no longer scabbing and you'd like to come on the podcast, let us know.
Tell your story.
You will be nice to that person, correct, Erica?
Yeah, because I feel like that is doing a service, because you can speak from a place of knowledge and say like why you thought it was okay and how you came to know that it wasn't okay.
All right. I think that's fair enough. That's good. Okay, so we'll stick with that. We'll go with a reformed scab, because I just don't know that Erica could keep her cool with. That's a tough one. Let's shift gears before we continue, and we're going to do our problem of the week. I've decided that we're going to start saying our problem of the week is brought to you by Stink Bomb, odorblocker.com. Erica, I was just thinking about Stink Bomb Odor Blocker and how it's not just for healthcare workers. We always talk about that, but I started thinking about how many other people could benefit from using this odor blocking little not a lip balm, but a balm, like dads when they're in the delivery room, or a dad changing his first dirty diaper.
Like a new dad that claims he can't change the poopy diapers because he can't handle the smell. Well, now there's no excuse.
Exactly. Or, I don't know, daycare workers that they're having to take care of all sorts of toddler mishaps, vomit, poopy diapers, all sorts of things.
There's all sorts of uses for Stink Bomb Odor Blocker. It doesn't have to just be for healthcare workers.
Yep. You just dab a little bit under your nose, and hopefully you can tolerate what you're in the midst of just a little bit. A lot better, actually.
Yeah.
Head to stinkbombodorblocker.com and you can get an additional 15% off by using code Uncorked15. And this week's problem of the week comes from a nurse. Surprise, surprise. I mean, what do you expect? I find myself not wanting to take nursing students because I've had so many lately that do not do anything. They literally want to sit at the nurse's station and log their hours. I find that I'm saying no more and more to talking to students because of this. Any advice on how to not be so biased or how to get them off their ass?
That's tough. And I kind of get this from people all the time. They're certainly not alone. There does seem to be like a generation of nurses that a lot of other nurses are critical of now, saying that they're lazy, they don't want to do anything. I don't know that that's necessarily new, though. I feel like every generation has kind of thought that about the incoming generation of nurses. But I'm torn, because part of me is like, yes, I love the new generation of nurses because they will not stay in a toxic job. They will recognize the toxicity, the gaslighting, and give them like one chance to fix it. And if they don't, they're going to be like, okay, I'm out, They're not going to tolerate what we tolerated. So I love that about them. But it does seem to me like a lot of, not all, but a lot of nursing school curriculums are inexplicably easier now. And I don't know if that's as a result of the pandemic. But it shouldn't be easier. Now, can we update things and maybe get rid of nursing care plans and that kind of BS? Sure. But we shouldn't necessarily make it less vigorous or less challenging, because it's important. Like, what we do is people's lives are on the line. It shouldn't be easy, you know? And I think remote learning and doing online clinicals virtually and like Chat GPT and cheating your way through things and AI is problematic, you know? And so now
I want to just give some words of advice to nursing students if they are listening. Keep in mind that nurses are so busy and so overworked and working completely short-staffed that if you're not willing to get up, keep up, run, challenge yourself, throw yourself into the mix, a nurse does not have the energy to continue to beg you to come follow them when you're assigned to them. You have got to put forth the effort and show that you're willing to learn. I follow them. If they've agreed to take you, they're going to take you. They're going to allow you. Hey, listen, at a worst case scenario, if you get assigned a nurse that doesn't feel like teaching, you're at least going to get experience in seeing. So I would say take initiative, jump in there.
You have to.
Yes, because the ones that are just complacent and don't because they're like, hey, I'm going to get a free ride today. That's the ones that put a bad taste in nurses in their mouths. Like and
you're setting yourself up for failure, because think about it. You can either do your first NG or IV or whatever as a student and screw it up and no one cares because you're a student.
Right.
Or you could do it as a new grad when you're off orientation and then everyone is looking at you like, what the fuck did you just do? You know, wouldn't you rather have those learning, challenged opportunities as a student when you're not going to be judged, really?
Now, at the same time, I'm going to give advice to nurses. If you have a student that is being very receptive and really wanting to learn, don't be an asshole. Like, seriously. And you know that there are some nurses that do it. I mean, and I think
honestly, I've been guilty of that, if I'm going to be honest. In the past. No, I have. Yeah, I know. And it's not, I love to teach. It's not that. I don't mind having students at all. I love to teach. I would get very angry because they would never lighten our load, or they would even give me more patience and say, well, you have someone to help you.
Oh, bull, you cannot.
No, the hell I don't. That only slows me down. I have to stop and explain everything, or wait for them to do something that takes me a fraction of the time. No. So what they need to do is, if your ratio is normally 1-4 and you have a student, they should be giving you 1-3, not 1-5. Like, I would get angry about that.
I want to say that I know we're going off on a tangent here. We'll wrap this up here. But in nursing school, I had the most amazing nurse when I was doing my clinicals in labor and delivery, Christy, who I ended up working with for many years. But she was the most amazing preceptor, the most amazing nurse to follow. And I think had I not had her, maybe my love for labor and delivery would not be the same, because she was so excited to teach and wanted me to see a delivery so badly. Like, she was really a passionate teacher. And I feel like had I been assigned to somebody that was kind of mean, or maybe I would have taken a different path. So I really do think that it makes a huge, huge difference in how a nursing student sees things. So just kind of remember that. I don't know if we freaking answered your question, but I would say tell the student you're going to have to get up, follow me, keep up. If you want a great experience,
with telling the student that, saying, hey, can't help but notice you've just been sitting here at the nurse's station for the last 3 hours. This is your clinical. It's what you are either going to make of it or not. So I would encourage you to be more assertive in finding your learning
And
opportunities.
if they refuse, I say there's nothing wrong with telling their clinical instructor.
Absolutely.
So
Yep, I agree.
I would do that. Okay. All right. Well, let's switch back into where did we leave off on 2024? We were at episode with Jamal Chubb and his wife Sierra Chubb. I can't find
another one that you had been trying to get on the podcast for a long time. Sometimes these episodes are like months and months and months in the making.
Episode
and
63.
coordinating.
If you're looking, episode 63. This was a friend of mine that I met through TikTok, and he nearly lost his wife, pregnant wife, during the pandemic. It's a very emotional story. I cried. I mean, it takes you through the eyes of like what a patient's family member really dealt with and saw during the whole COVID experience. But luckily his wife Sierra made it. There was times that they were ready to send her off. They were talking about hospice and all other sorts of things, and they thought she was brain dead, and she pulled through. And they have a beautiful baby. But that was a great episode. At first, I remember Erica was like, "But if the patient's not willing to come on, like what?
Yeah,
what are we going to do?"
I didn't see your vision, but no, it was a great episode.
Yeah,
and sometimes, honestly, like Jessica and I, just a little behind the scenes, we don't always necessarily agree on an episode. I know that there have been episodes that Jessica has been bored to death, but she's never said it. And there are a couple that Jessica has pushed for that I'm kind of resistant. And then all she has to do is say, just trust me. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And
they always end up being
great
good.
One. That was a great one. And you know, I explained to Erica, and I think she got it, that I think Sierra's not big about talking about the experience. And she says, I wasn't there.
Right. Because she wasn't alert and aware of what's going on.
Yeah. She's like, if you want to hear the story, you need to talk to my husband. I mean, she could tell you about her journey and her recovery, you know, but if you want to talk to somebody that went through the day-to-day and can tell you every detail, it's my husband. And that makes complete sense, you know?
Yeah.
But it was a huge story. She was on Good Morning America. I mean, their TikTok blew up. Like it was a big
They're
story.
Fun. I follow them. I love their content.
Their family is so cute. So freaking cute. Yeah, they're adorable. Then we went to Hawaii.
Ooh. We traveled a lot this year, actually, you and I.
Erica, where the hell did we go? Before we get into those episodes, where did we tell them?
Well, we went to Hawaii. We were there for like almost a week, right? A long time. Like 6 days, I think.
We had to turn it into a...
I mean, yeah, you can't go to Hawaii and not do some sightseeing. We went to Ohio for Tristan Kate Smith's family's nursing rally in support of legislation. And we went on a cruise. We went on a Nurse Blake cruise.
Yeah.
All in 1 year.
Yeah,
we've done a lot. Where are we going to go next year?
I don't know. Where do you want to go?
I don't know. I mean, I think it depends on if there's any strikes.
Yeah.
Some big strikes if someone wants us to come.
We've been talking about me coming to Vegas because I've never been. Yeah. And Erica and I need professional photos done together.
We do.
So that I think needs to be in the works, Erica. We need to make a date for that.
Well, and we could I did an episode of Fargo Talks, the podcast.
Yes, he follows me. He's so nice. He's so nice. Yeah, he follows me. He likes all of our Nurses Uncorked stuff. Is very, very sweet.
He has like presented an open invitation when you finally come to Vegas that we can go on his podcast together. And he has a beautiful recording studio that he uses that makes me feel wholly inadequate.
And
so we have to do that.
Okay, I think we should do that. And then I would say the other place that we should go, and I'm throwing you in this, Erica, you don't know this, is New York, so that we can go on Nick Gar's show. And both...
You want to have your soap opera moment.
But I'm going to drag you into it as well.
What? I don't know that I could act.
Just one line? Can't they make you like a patient family member or something that says like one tiny little thing?
Can I be like the
I could
bitchy
be like the lead
nurse
star.
manager or something? I feel like I could do that.
Yeah, I'd be
I don't
great
know.
at that.
That'd be fun. I love Nick Gar's YouTube series. It's called Nurses Station, the
Yeah,
series.
Nurses
And
Station.
it
Yep,
is one
really
of
good.
the most realistic depictions of what real nursing is out there.
Would you be willing to do that with me, Erica, and go?
Yeah, if I could afford it, if I could swing it, another trip to New York.
I want to say that like flights to New York, I don't think are that bad. Like especially if you don't go like
I think
during.
it's the hotels that are like the big cost. You
Do we
know?
know anyone that lives there that we could mooch off
I
of
don't know.
their living quarters?
I'm sure there's nurses that would offer to, but that makes me nervous.
Yeah,
If
or
I
we
don't
can.
know them.
I don't know. Maybe we can stay somewhere that's off out of the city or something that's not as. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're gonna look into that. So I
Okay.
say Vegas. I will go to opposite ends of the country and then maybe sprinkle in some strikes.
What about international?
Oh, I'm
Not
up for anything.
Not that I have any ideas, but
No, shoot, I'm willing to do it. I like traveling, to be honest. I think it's fun. So we'll see. To be continued on that. On that
if you
note,
guys have any suggestions, let us know.
yeah. So Hawaii was a great one. Kapiolani.
Such an amazing experience. And we made friends there that I think we'll always be friends with. Like amazing people there.
We still
amazing
message with them all the time.
All the time. Yeah. And
so nice to us.
Rose, the president of the
nice. I love Rose.
nursing union, was just in Vegas a few weeks ago, and I went and had dinner with her and one of the nurses. They're just amazing. And actually, you know how when we were there, we kept hearing about the other hospital, Queens?
Yeah.
They might be going on strike. They're having their strike vote right now. I don't know how long the vote is lasting, but I think it started yesterday. So they may be going on strike like very, very soon. And they're the same union. And a lot of them from Queens came to the Kapiolani strike. We're on the strike line to support them.
Before we continue, I want to say that Nurse Erica was not prepared for this podcast at all. And I was. And I just want look.
Why do we need to point this out?
Because you're always the prepared one and I'm not.
It's true.
So I wanted to give myself a pat on the back
just
for
out
one
of
time.
nowhere. Let's just interrupt the flow of the podcast to give yourself.
I think Erica was concerned that we weren't organized, but little did she know that I had a timeline and a flow here and was on the ball. So I'm
still trying to like catch up because I was out of the country for 2 weeks. Came back.
God, do we have to keep hearing about the holiday market?
I'm not talking about the holiday market.
I was traveling.
Shut up.
And
I'm just saying, I feel very out of the loop. I am so out of the loop. I'm still getting over being sick and jet lagged. And then immediately Christmas, and we have family in town.
All right, we're going to give you one more week to play the violin, and then it's over. and then you're done. Next. On to our next episode was a good one, organ donation. Woo!
Oh my gosh.
That one? Erica, tell him how good that.
I have so much to say. Okay. I have been meaning to make a video about this, but because I've been so busy out of the country going to the European Christmas markets, Jessica.
Yeah, she's just jet lagged. I
haven't had a chance to
shopping.
do this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we interviewed 3 people on that podcast. It was the brother of the patient that had been declared brain dead. They were about to do the organ procurement, and turns out he was not brain dead. And he's very much still alive and at home and can walk and talk with some delays. But and then we had 2 of the organ procurement specialists there on the podcast. Okay. We got so much backlash for that. So much hate from people saying that we are single-handedly like damaging the organ donation, system in this country. No one's going to want to be an organ donor anymore. And then we had people telling us that what they were saying was just absolutely false and that we're just doing this for clickbait and all of that. Well, guess what? Guess what, guys? Those same 3 people were just, 2-3 weeks ago, interviewed on CNN by Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
Yep.
And they said the exact same things. And CNN did their due diligence in vetting all of that. Okay. And Dr. Sanjay Gupta said the same things that we said, that we were hesitant because we don't want to dissuade people from being organ donors. But there's something going on here, maybe not in every state, but enough to where it's very concerning and it needs to be
talked
looked
about.
into.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does.
So I felt very vindicated after that CNN episode came out, or interview, because they talked to us first. The same people said the same things, and we got them first.
We did. And Erica's also an organ broker now.
And oh my God.
People have tried to sell.
Someone's trying to get us to broker their organs on the black market, because that's what we do. Yeah.
That was interesting. We learned all about forensic nurse examining. Yeah, that was another very, very educational episode. And then after that, we went into a 2-part series that I love. One of my favorite episodes of the year, about long-term health care and exposing what goes on in these facilities. I have on my TikTok, I think it's one of my most viewed videos of the year, is a clip from that podcast. Oh, the amount of people talking in the comments saying, this is completely true. This is what I see. This is,
or saying this is completely false. You're doing this for views. Yeah.
But I would say, if I had to put a number, about 80% is people completely agreeing with what we're saying. But of course, you're always going to have a nurse or somebody that works at an amazing facility that is going to chime in and say, this is not what's going on. And maybe it's not going on at your facility, and you're lucky. And if you listen to the podcast, we said that. But
repeatedly,
what we did say was, most of the time it falls in the latter, the area of the not so good long-term care facilities. And that's great that you have one, and you work at one that's amazing. And I would stay there if I were you, because chances are the next job you get is not going to be a good one.
And we had our friend Massel McGuido on that 2-part episode. And you and I, we're not going to give away any spoilers, but you and I have a project related to that we kind of put on the back burner that we need to focus on for the next year.
Yeah. That could be something, another thing up and coming. Yeah. We're not going to give nothing away. We also had a funny episode with Andrew White.
Love him.
Yes. Meanwhile in the break room, right? Yeah.
He just had his season 2 finale cliffhanger, and oh god, it's so good. Love him. Yeah.
Episode 75. Then we had a lot, the labor movement. We talked about what's the name of the
with labor notes.
Yes, labor notes. Thank you.
We had a representative of labor notes on talking about the current kind of trajectory of the labor movement, not just for nursing, but in general in this country. That was a lot of really valuable information.
Definitely. And then to kind of wrap up the year, a couple more episodes, we did a 2-part series of the travel nurse industry and exposing it, which I feel like should have done more views than what it did. So I'm going to say this: if you are a travel nurse or thinking of becoming a travel nurse and you have not listened to episode 77 and 78, you have to hear all of this, because
well, I'm going to, and I agree with you. There was so much valuable information.
Did bad, but
no,
it should have been off better, the charts.
But I think without getting into too much detail, because we're not going to talk about this publicly, but there was definitely some behind the scenes drama and frustration that Jessica and I had to deal with. And I think that it left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. And so I did not promote those episodes as much as I would have normally, because I was irritated. Yeah, I was bitter.
Then we had Nurse Penny on.
Love Nurse Penny.
Yep, hospice nurse Penny with her new book, Influencing Death.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great episode. And then that brings us to our Huddle news update that we did
Last
week. So, which was part 4. So, for the end of this podcast, I decided that I would pose some questions, Erica, to us.
A question. Well, I had a question for you, but it wasn't about the podcast.
Oh, well, ask it. Go ahead.
So 2 things. Here she goes.
I know, I had to. Okay, what is it?
I thought since this is like our New Year's episode, it'd be nice if we asked or answered, do you have any New Year's resolutions and goals for the podcast for the next year, which you kind of touched on.
That was one of my questions. What do we want to accomplish in 2025? One thing that comes to mind is, I know this is going to sound silly, but we keep saying that we're going to provide some merch and a store and little things for people.
Yeah,
because
that's all you, boo.
I know, but that's one of my goals is to do that because we've got our wonderful, Nurses Uncorked glasses and shakers and coasters. And I mean, it's all there. We've made it. I
made you a Christmas tree ornament.
Yes, you did. You did. Us. Yeah. So and by the way, your gift will be there between January 3rd and January 5th. Just keep looking.
I didn't know I had one on the way, but okay.
Yeah, it can be a part of our podcast when you get it. So you'll see what,
I'm afraid.
So that is one of my goals. My other goal, like I said, is to get some of these difficult stories, like difficult topics of people that we may not agree with, but that we're willing to hear what they have to say and do it in a fair way. I'd like to do that. And my third goal is to get Nurse Erica to tell a story that she has never told before. I'm not going to mention it, but I'm hoping maybe in 2025, Erica might be ready. We'll see. But it's a very important thing that's a part of her life. And I'd also like to share at some point soon my family struggle with addiction. Alcoholism is something that I've talked about that I think is really important. And I would like to do an episode about that, about what I've dealt with in my own family. Maybe we can have a nurse on that's gone through addiction, something like that. So those are some of the things that I would like to see us accomplish in 2025. What about you, Erica?
I think those are all really, really good goals. You've put some thought into this. Regarding me telling my story, and I don't care if we say what it's about. It's about the last pizza party and how that ended up being absolutely a terrible thing for the nursing profession.
If somebody doesn't know what the last pizza party is, what was it? What is the last
pizza party? It was supposed to be a grassroots nurse advocacy group that myself and one other nurse creator started. I am no longer and have not been for quite some time been associated with that, and there's good reason.
It's been a while, right?
That. Good reason, yes. And so I really have never talked about it publicly because this person went on an absolute smear campaign against me when we parted ways. And I have hard evidence showing that she single-handedly, strategically reached out to virtually every single nurse influencer there is out there, trying to defame me essentially with flat out lies and not telling them what she did to sell out the entire nursing profession. So I have really tried to take the high road and not talk about, and part of it is self-preservation, because I know when I do, she is inevitably going to come out of the woodwork and do it all over again, and try to paint me in a poor light. So,
do you know what that reminds me of? Is like what they've done to Blake Lively. with
Oh yeah,
a smear. It's basically a smear campaign. It
And
is a
that's what it
way.
was.
Yeah, it's a
I've seen
way.
all of the screenshots of text messages and Facebook
Yeah.
Messenger and DMs that she has sent to hundreds of nurse influencers out there, just absolutely lying about me. And so for a long time I was really confused, like why are they all unfollowing me? Like people that I've been mutuals with for a long time.
Why are they
Then
all?
I got to know why. Yeah. Anyway, I did
So
tell that
maybe
story to a couple of people on my trip to the European Christmas markets that I'm really not trying to bring up again and
were the.
again.
Oh God, here we go.
But we had
La
like a
la
3 hour
la 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 la.
we had a 3 hour train ride, and so I did tell the story to a couple of people that were interested. And
Were they
every time I
shocked?
tell it,
Were they
yeah,
shocked?
every time I tell it, everyone is just sitting back with their eyes wide, like, oh my God, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's that bad.
I think even
When
the
you
fact that
have
you're
to
talking
ask,
about it this much is the maybe
yeah,
in
for
2025
real.
Erica might be
When you have to
ready.
ask a grown ass adult and educated nurse to wear clothes to a Zoom meeting, there's a problem.
Y'all should see my eyeballs right.
And you know.
She knows. She knows.
Anyway.
She knows. Yeah, oh I know. Okay. Let's
But
just
I
change
think your
gears.
goals are but I don't get to say my goals. She does not care about me. This is so one-sided.
Shit, I thought that you just answered it.
No, I was responding to your goals.
I need more
You
wine.
see how
Okay,
it is here?
go ahead.
Okay. First of all, my personal New Year's resolution is to read more. I read all day, every day, but it's all like nursing stuff. I want to somehow magically find a way to do more enjoyable, leisurely reading for myself, because I'm a huge book lover, and
Does books on tape count or no in your mind?
I mean, I think it does. Yeah, I've had to do a lot of like Audible books because it's the only time I can squeeze it in. I think that counts. But yeah, so that's my personal goal. New Year's resolution, and to lose more weight. But goals for the podcast, I've mentioned before, I still have a couple people I really want to get on. And they may not ever happen, but Julie Tao, who was the first nurse criminally charged before Redonda Vaught. God, and I don't know how old she is, but I would love to get her on. And this one I haven't even mentioned to you. Do you remember several months ago I did a video about a CNO that went undercover as a travel nurse and no one knew they were a CNO, and did like a whole contract, and then afterwards ended up like writing about it with the perspective of now they kind of have a better understanding of why nurses react and do things that they do that the C-suite does not understand. Do you remember that? No?
Sure don't.
Well, that CNO, months and months and months after my video, found me and reached out to me and said, can I meet with you? I want your feedback on something. So I did. We had a Zoom, and he was very nice. Liked him a lot. I would like to get him on the podcast. I haven't even reached out to him to ask yet. Well, I think I actually may have lost his contact information, so I need to find it. But that's on my list.
Okay.
What are you huffing and puffing about?
I'm just saying you have a connection to Julie through Redonda. Let's get it going.
I do. Redonda reached out to Julie Tao a few months ago and talked to her. I think that she has kind of left this in her past, and so I don't know that she's willing.
That's okay. That's understandable.
She doesn't work in nursing anymore, but if
know
anyone
who
wants to help me get this message to Julie Tao, Julie, please consider coming.
I would love.
Valuable.
I'm an L&D nurse. Profession. I would love to hear and talk to you about.
She was an L&D.
Yeah, nurse. That whole experience. Yeah. I really, really would. Please, if you're willing, I think it'd be a really cool episode, and your story is hugely valuable to everybody, because you are the first, one of the first. Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind having representative of the ANA on again to discuss more issues. I think it was valuable. I don't know that they would be open to it, but I would.
They said on our podcast they would be.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
She did.
I know who else you want on. Do you know who else you want on?
Who?
The nurse that had the whole debacle with the blood draws. That's one that you've asked for a long time.
Which one was that?
That she refused to do the blood draw on the patient or something.
Oh, Alex Wubbles. Yes.
Yes.
You're right. The Utah ER nurse that was arrested for refusing to violate policy when the officer was trying to get her to draw labs without consent, basically.
See, I remember what you've said more than you do.
You're right. I think I've kind of given up on her. I've asked her several times and we've communicated, but as soon as I ask her about that kind of stuff, she goes silent, radio silent on me. I'm sure she signed an NDA when they settled out of court. I don't know that to be true. I just assume. But yeah, open invitation. Would love, even if it were limited in what she could say. You know, even if she could only talk about what we see in the video.
Oh, and for Erica to say that? Because normally Erica's like, if they're not willing to disclose everything, then I don't want them.
No, that was another big turning point in the nursing profession. One of those, crazy moments in time. I would love to get Alex Wubbles on. Yeah.
All right. And then I have 2 more questions.
Okay.
What was one of your funniest moments of the year? And I'll give you a moment to think about it as I mention mine.
Yeah, but you had time to think about it. I don't know.
Well, you should have been more prepared. I don't know what to tell you. Mine was, and Erica's probably going to not think it was that funny, but it was a few weeks ago as her and I were trying to record a commercial. And I could not stop laughing for whatever reason.
God, you had the giggles.
Our patrons I released this behind the scenes clip. But every time we would go to try to start recording, to the point that Erica accused me of ingesting gummies. Okay.
Well, good Lord, it just kept going and going and going. I'm like, what is going on?
She was so mad at me. But I don't know what tickled my funny bone, but every time I would try to start the commercial again, I just could not stop laughing. Like my belly hurt from laughing so hard trying to do that. And I need to go back and listen. Still don't remember what was so freaking funny.
I think we were trying to record a sponsorship ad.
Yeah, we were, but we slipped up or something in the beginning and then forget it. From there on out, I just couldn't get the words out. And it was 5 minutes of nothing but me messing it up and laughing hysterically. So I will say that was probably, for me, one of my funnier moments.
Okay, I have one.
What?
I have 2. But one, and it's just going to always be the answer, even though it wasn't from this past year. But it was one of our very earliest episodes where we were at the nursing strike in Rochester, New York. And we've talked about it before. And we were delirious because we'd been out on the strike line all day, hadn't eaten. We were exhausted. And we come back to the room and start having wine on an empty stomach. And then we started recording. And that
was great.
I don't think it's funny to anyone else, but to this day, when I listen to that, I'm laughing out loud. It was so funny.
That was another day that my stomach hurt. Literally, belly laughs. My stomach hurt so bad from laughing. And the lady that randomly asked us about her bacterial vaginosis,
what to do about the smell. I'm like, oh my God.
It was had nothing to do with what we were discussing, and I just
at all. Yeah,
that was also that was classic. That was a good one.
Okay, my other one was the episode that Massel McGuido was on. Not this most recent one, but the one before. I think we were talking about nurse burnout, I think. And it was just an outtake. And I'm trying to prep and get ready,
what it is.
And I'm reading my notes. And he just
he calls you Rapunzel?
Yes, I must have had a good hair day because he just starts I
want to climb that tower.
So good. Oh my God, it's luscious. I want to climb that hair. And just the way he says it with his accent.
That was pretty.
And I was trying so hard to concentrate. But now when I listen to it, I'm like, that was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, that was really, that was pretty freaking good.
Yeah.
And then lastly, and then we're going to get into our enema of the week.
Okay.
We're going to say, what are we most proud of? You can pick one thing from
Mm.
2024.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to say that we have put a podcast out every Tuesday without fail. Let me knock on wood. And that
Yeah.
Nurse Erica and I, even though there have been times we have wanted to kill each other, have
Mm.
overcome the murder.
True.
Have overcome it and realized that we're just like sisters at this point. And
That's right.
you're gonna, like, I'm gonna get teary-eyed. You're gonna have fights and you're gonna have squabbles, but at the end of the day, you just gotta get over it and get past it. So I would say that that's probably what I'm most proud of.
Oh, she's crying again. She cries all the time, but no,
because I gotta see this
appreciate
bitch
that
every week.
I know, you're so sick of me. I feel the same way. Believe me, there was a point that when we won't get into it where I was like, "That's it, I'm fucking done," and we had a huge blowout. But here we are, and we persevered, and I think that we had a lot of signs from the universe, not to sound like hokey or something, because right as that was happening is when we got like our first sponsor at the exact same time.
We were like, hooray!
And we got a huge guest, like the exact same, like couple of days when this was all happening. So I'm like, okay, well, this is a sign. We should keep going, and so we did. And I'm so glad that we did. And I think that we have a lot more in common than not, and I love you.
Totally a lot more in common than not. But you guys have to understand, like, to put a podcast out every Tuesday for 80 weeks in a row.
And I don't know anyone else that does that unless they're like a Joe Rogan that has a whole team behind them. No one else does that.
Very time consuming. But at this point, it's like a mission. So if you see us and we all of a sudden are on a hiatus, something has happened. I would just put,
don't say that. Don't jinx us.
I'm just saying something has probably happened. So just know that we're going to see how long we can continue this streak.
No. We are going to continue this. Don't put that out in the universe.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Erica? Or
just another goal of mine. Very soon in the new year, I'm going to finally invest in a new computer and hopefully not have this psychedelic light issue that's constantly flashing on my
thank
crappy
you to
computer.
Our patrons. We are about there, right?
Yes, thank you.
We are about
we've
there.
Saved up a little bit of money
where Erica can do that,
so I can go get a new computer.
Because right now she looks like she's at a rave at 3 a.m.
For no reason. For no reason. There's ambient light in here. There's no reason for it to go light and dark, but here we are.
All right. Are we switching gears into our enema of the week? Or
Yeah.
All right.
Our Enema of the Week award is brought to you as always by Happy Bum Co., a leader in at-home enema solutions.
Enema of the Week.
You know how nurses are so prone to constipation, right? Because we don't get our breaks, we don't get to drink any water at work, all our crazy schedules, so we need to be really careful though that we don't get dependent on things like stool softeners and laxatives, because that can be really damaging. You can have electrolyte imbalances. It can damage your good gut bacteria. In severe cases, it can lead to like seizures and dehydration and even dependence on them, right? So one of the ways that anyone that suffers from constipation can deal with it is at-home enemas, like Happy Bum Co. They are a leader in at-home enema solutions.
I love Happy Bum Co. It is an amazing product, and I can say firsthand that having constipation, if you've ever had it, is so uncomfortable and one of the most unpleasant experiences you can have. So get relief today. Head to happybumco.com, and they're generously offering 15% off by using code Nurses Uncorked, and that's a total of 15% off your first bundle.
This week's Enema Award goes to the Greater Cincinnati chapter of the AACN. Okay. The, I think it stands for American Association of Critical Care Nurses, I believe. Because they are publicly encouraging all of their members to reach out to their representatives to not pass Ohio Bill 285, the nurse staffing standards, which would provide nurse to patient staffing ratios in Ohio. This big bill. And it's one of the ones we were promoting when we went to Ohio for the rally. This Greater Cincinnati chapter of the AACN is literally on their website, has put together a template letter for nurses to copy saying why they should not support it. And I've got a couple of them here. Hold on, I'm going to show you or read it to you. Some of their quote unquote reasons for not supporting 285 is it ignores the flexibility required to adjust staffing based on patient acuity and specific care needs. It leads to a financial strain on healthcare facilities, particularly in underserved areas, which could ultimately result in decreased patient access to care and blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. Everybody knows evidence-based research has consistently proven that mandated nurse to patient staffing ratios only results in improved patient outcomes.
Yep.
Stop selling out. Turn in your license, Greater Cincinnati chapter of the AACN, because we see you for what you are. You're a fraud. You have sold out the nursing profession. Just stop. That's right.
That's how we feel about that.
That's right.
Well deserved. Well deserved. Well, everybody, Happy New Year. Happy
New Year.
I hope you guys have a great time tonight. Celebrate with your loved ones. If you are at work, celebrate with your coworkers. Make the best out of whatever situation you're in. If you're alone, put on a good movie. Put on When Harry Met Sally has a great scene in there about New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Just make the best out of whatever situation you're in would be my advice. And hopefully 2025 is good to all of us. Right, Erica?
That's right. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Cheers. Until next time on the next 2025 Nurses Uncorked.
Nurses Uncorked.